Alright YouTube, this is the new first-hand experience of the Zenoah G320RC engine that's scheduled to be released here in a couple of weeks. So I thought I'd just give you a quick overview of some of the features and things that we can expect with the new engine. So this is an entirely new design engine from Zenoah, and there's a few major points that I want to go over to show everybody what's new. So first off, the dimensions of the engine is that it's a 38mm bore with a 28mm stroke for a total displacement of 31.8 cc's. The crankcase is an entirely new design crankcase. It houses larger bearings. It's also got a bigger crankshaft. So what we have here is this is one of the new crankshafts for the G320RC, and what they've done is they've kept the inner diameter the same, but the bearings that house the outer diameter, or the crankshaft bearings outer diameter, is bigger. The wrist pin bearings for the connecting rod here have also been increased to a larger size. The bearing at the bottom of the connecting rod is also bigger. So for a comparison, this is a standard Zenoah crankshaft to the right, and this is the new G320 crankshaft. So you can see it's slightly bigger. You can see there that the wrist pin on the bottom is bigger. It takes up a little bit more space in the crankcase. And so one thing to note is that the clutch side here with the taper is the same. So for those of you with existing clutches, like any existing Zenoah clutch or Chungyang clutch will work. For those of you looking to put this on GoPed scooters, that's also the same dimensions there. So it's very cool. This here is also, this is the new 38mm piston. It's got the ring installed, so it's got the same marking as usual. There's the little arrow that points to the exhaust side. Let's see here. So the other thing that's new is that the crankcase also has dual oil seals. So instead of having the bigger bearing on the sealed outer bearing like they did on the G290s and the G270s, they've actually gone back to doing an oil seal. So there's an oil seal on the crankshaft side, the clutch side, as well as on the flywheel side. So the cylinder, we could talk about the cylinder a little bit. The cylinder does also have some changes. So what you can see is that the transfer ports actually run up the side in kind of this little jacket there. And so for comparison, on the left, well actually I'll do this the same. So on the right here, this is the Zenoah G290 crankshaft cylinder. So this is a 36mm bore. You can see the transfer ports here. And so what Zenoah has done is that they have it's called a closed deck here on the bottom. And then on the sides, right here, these are little, they call them Scavenger Ports. And so if you look here on the engine, these are a little cover that goes on each side, and you can modify these as well as engine tuners can modify them to change the port timing a little bit. So it's going to make it quite a bit easier. And then also having the complete inside of the cylinder just kind of be one continuous thing that should increase durability instead of having some of these open gaps like we do on some of the older RC style engines. So you can also see that the spacing is larger for the crankcase, because again it's an entirely new crankcase. For comparison, here's a head gasket for the G290, G270, G240, and then this is the gasket for the new G320. So it's quite a bit different, quite a bit bigger. Other things to note. So again, for the external differences, there's a new engine cover. This one's been modified because we ran it on our Losi 5. The exhaust port is actually the exact same exhaust port as it's been on the Zenoah G290. The pull start and the fan cover are the exact same as the previous engines. The flywheel, the ignition coil are the same, kill switch is the same, still runs a standard spark plug that you're used to, the NGK CMR7H. The insulator manifold is different. The insulator manifold is a bit larger, and it's a new design. The carburetor is a new Walbro carburetor. The clutch case itself, or the clutch housing, this is an entirely new design piece. The bolt spacing is larger where it bolts to the crankcase compared to the original Zenoah clutch case. You can kind of get an idea there. So the external bolts, where like you would mount on a clutch bell carrier, are actually the same, but it's these four holes here that mount up to the crankcase that are different, as well as the center hole there is different because of the larger oil seal. So let's see, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, so it still uses a standard 54mm clutch from Zenoah. Still uses the same clutch plate, so that remains unchanged. So what we have tested it a bit in our Losi 5 test mule, and it has an amazing amount of power. The torque is a huge difference. It's something that really is going to be welcomed in the large scale crowd, just because that's kind of one of the differences that fifth scale's always lacked, is a bit of that low end torque when compared to some of the smaller scale electric vehicles. But we are really excited about this engine. We're really excited to get it in the hands of everybody to try out, and I think that it's going to find a place in really setting the standard for what engines are going to become in the future. And so as we get more experience with it, we'll pass along some of the things that we've learned. But if you guys have questions or comments, just place them below and we'll get to them, or you can always shoot us an email to sales@davesmotors.com. Give us a call. We're always happy to talk to our customers. So that's the G320RC. Thanks.